Hi, everyone, and welcome to the July Sunday afternoon version of 100 Pictures of Honey. I'm so happy that you're here to hear these three wonderful poets. We have, three poets today who are prize winners and fellows and poet laureates and all those other, fancy words. But more importantly to me, all three of them beautifully traverse landscapes of longing and belonging in their work, landscapes of the body and the tongue, and all of the places that it learns to call home. And I think you'll hear that in their words today. Um, Before we get started, really briefly, please feel free to use the chat to say hello, to cheer on our readers, to drop lines that you particularly like, to leave comments. Everyone should be muted and please stay that way. Only our readers should be able to unmute. Wave your hands around, jump up and down, whatever you'd like to do to encourage them. Leave your camera on or off, up to you. And just sit back and kind of have a lovely 45 minutes of living in the beautiful words of these three writers. Our first reader today is going to be Kai Coggin. I first met Kai, like many people did, online during the pandemic, where her beautiful Wednesday night poetry reading um, moved online, and her hand to the screen. Um, to reach out to the people who were at home alone was really a way that many of us got sustenance during the pandemic. So I will always treasure her for that. And since then, I've met her in person multiple times, and there's no one that builds community better than she does, and also writes beautiful poems. So Kai, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Donna, and 100 Pictures of Honey. And thank you to all of you who are sharing this hour together with some poems. So I'm going to be reading poems from my brand new book that came out on Earth Day. It's called Mother of Other Kingdoms. This is it. And this book really centers around the natural world and my longing to be a mother, and then the realization that I kind of already am, just in a non-traditional way. I'm going to start with the first poem in the book. It's called Priest of the Invisible. Can y'all give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay? Everything's good? Awesome. Can y'all do this because I love you? Thank you. Okay. I needed a little love. Okay, this is called Priest of the Invisible. The poet is the priest of the invisible, Wallace Stevens. It's like we walk around with magnifying glass over our eyes, amplifiers tied to our ears. This close listen, this peer into and hear the infinitesimal movement of cells, reaching toward beauty, reaching toward light. And if we use our words to name it, to notice the unnoticed and make it holy with poem, we consecrate the mundane into the sublime, letter by letter, line by line. I've found that I always gravitate to the same poems when I do readings, and so I'm trying to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to read some poems that I don't usually read. And this one's kind of apropos because we are in a Zoom room. And I remember writing this poem after a reading where I was just mesmerized by a woman in her little square. And she just looked so beautiful. She looked like a painting, that I took a screenshot of her and I wrote a poem about it. This is called I Screenshot a Woman on Zoom. Because while I read my poems aloud, her box is like a painting. Her virtual window is some other world I want to peer into and hold. A new ekphrastic there, living, still, life. Renaissance mouth, rose dusted with color, skin porcelain like a moon hanging, waxing, and her delicate hand resting behind her long neck, thin forearm draping pale against the black of her sweater, elbow resting on unseen knee. Such softness from another era entirely, such sincerity in her languorous gaze, the orchids and white roses huddled from winter greening at her shoulder, safe in her space. I want to hold this stare simply for the unfolding art of her, for the way I am sure she never sees herself, a reflection of anonymous grace. And lest I forget what first caught my eye, the thick brown golden braid hanging over her shoulder, half undone, falling free, but the three parts still holding on, untied, a suggestion of wildness, horse-like, an untethering, long, loose, and slowed down. Perhaps she was in the middle of undressing the day and remembered a poetry reading on Zoom, a chance to stare softly into windows, peer into other worlds, walk through a gallery of light. And that was published in The Night Heron Barks. So, like I said, a lot of these poems focus on the natural world. After writing three books that were basically about resisting the regime that, we won't mention today, I needed some healing, and I found that healing in the natural world and in becoming a master naturalist. So my poems kind of zoomed in on the wild things. This is called Pipe Organs Inside a Japanese Wind Chime, Procalibinium californicum. My God, it's so hot everywhere. 17 million gallons of sewage just spilled into the ocean over breakfast. Redwoods, matchstick, and mountains weep charred snow. Another 21 wild species become history. Oceans rise from ice caps melting and calving into the sea, all while we pretend we're surviving these intersecting calamities. And reader, I just want to go outside, turn off the world breaking, and listen as a metallic blue mud dauber wasp vibrates a song no one has ever heard but me. I swear it. Tenor of hope here, inside the bellowing giant barrels of precision tuned Japanese wind chimes my mom gave us as a wedding present last year. And now, this maternally expecting, nesting, bright blue thing makes a tunnel of music inside a black metal pipe, singing a song of resilience in one of the higher chimes. If I had to guess it, in the key of G, yes, here she is, blue blur building cradles of mud, creating a pipe organ inside her own church. This gorgeous buzzing and building reverberating almost through our whole house, if you listen close enough, powered in flight by the nectar of flowers. And don't you wish you could say the same thing of yourself? Honestly, I don't know where this poem is going, but today the heartbreaks and disasters, both global and deeply personal, are answered in this holy song, this tenor of building and buzzing, building and buzzing, building and buzzing, a mother's unseen labor, tuning fork of the universe funneled down into mud making, a tunnel to some kind of good light, a nest for something to vibrate through, be it sorrow, be it prayer, be it love, be it hope of making it to the other side of all this dark. Listen. I said, listen. Turn off the world breaking and listen. A mother is quietly building something out of nothing. The natural world still finds a way to sing. Tender and ache for Apis mellifera. This is because of the honey podcast or whatever this is. The honey, it's about bees. Tender and ache. I am an exposed bloom, a dandelion head with almost every wish blown away, still standing in an empty field with hope of fruiting a dream. Can you see why I mother every possible thing? Why the world becomes my womb and my hands a desperate sanctuary? I rescued a bumblebee from between the window pane and plastic sheeting of the greenhouse, a big bear of a bee, fuzzy and stunned on the brink of untimely death. Who knows how long he waited for escape, for rescue? I cupped his slow body in my hand and walked him out to the lilac tree laden with blooms and laid him inside a cluster of heavy scented petals. If you die, at least die happy inside here, I said to him, and his weakened bee arms clutched around the soft white flowers as though he was hugging them so tightly. Then stillness. I checked on him every hour while I gardened, and in a few hours he buzzed by me on his way to the lilac. I'm alive! A heavy song of thanks, a flight line of gratitude. This is how I mother. I rock the smallest species to sleep, lullaby our deepest human apologies into their innocent ears. That same day, 5 million honeybees being shipped to Alaska to pollinate orchards on ice shelves were rerouted by Delta Airlines. They waited on a hot tarmac in Atlanta for hours. Hot Lanta, record-breaking heat, the Weather Channel meteorologist joked. The bees died in droves, lifeless yellow-black piles, bodies by the crateful, 800 pounds of dead honeybees, an oversight, lost in the machinery of luggage and transit, moved and left to swelter and starve. 5 million bees, and no lilacs to save them, no open hands, no sweet-petaled embrace, no song of forgiveness whispered into their golden, honeyed hives. Just the tragic end of 5 million precious pollinating lives. Tender and ache. My mother, nature, heart breaks into 5 million pieces. I stand in a field and buzz with morning. Yeah, I'm going to end with a poem for my wife. This Wednesday is our 4-year wedding anniversary. And I wrote this poem after our first year wedding anniversary. We got married during the pandemic in our garden on Zoom. And there were 200 people at our wedding, but none of them were at our house because it was on Zoom, which was awesome. We didn't have to pay for catering. There was like 100 poets there, which is like legit. And so, let me see, find the page. Okay. And did you guys know that every time there's a wedding anniversary, there's a special gift that you're supposed to give your spouse? I did not know that. But the first year anniversary gift is paper. So this is for my wife, Joanne. It's called Fold Me into Paper. For my love of 16 years and counting, Joanne. The first wedding anniversary gift is paper. So, my love, fold me into paper. Take everything I have and fold me into you, my darling wife. Take this wide open life and crease new lines in me with the tips of your fingers. Origami my body to yours. Peace crane my hands to the wings of your heart. We have been forever joined, affixed like silent roots underground, entwined for lifetimes in this forest of blooming. We have loved each other since we were trees. We have arrived here joined in the whirling infinite through the gifts of each other's longing, the treasure of each other's searching. Yes, fold me into paper. Take the selves of my past, made into hemp, linen, wood pulp, ground me into bamboo juices and form me into a blank page. Pages of this love story that we keep writing, incarnation after incandescent incarnation. Remember when we were stars, darling? Here, take the papyrus of my breastbone and inscribe your holy name there. Write it in fire, in blood, in the inky stain of forever, to have and to hold. Infinitely I do. Again and again I still do take you as my wife, as you take me. Fold me into paper and let me keep writing poems to the life-shaped grace of your heart, to the way you soared the light in people, to how you give and give and give. Let me give you all these poems, pages and pages of paper flying like birds. Fold me into paper. Press your red lips to this fresh canvas. Mark me with your everlasting kiss. This bliss of life infused into every undivided cell of me. Fold me into paper. Build us into a little dreamboat, sailing on an ocean of tenderness, floating on gentle waves of always making each other laugh, of always speaking with truth and conviction, of always searching for light and beauty and running with that beauty in our origami hands to show each other another wondrous, infinite thing. Our love is a wondrous, infinite thing. Since we were trees, since we were whispering roots reaching, since we were stars spinning together into whatever our love becomes, darling, fold me into paper and hold me beside you. Thank you, everyone, for listening. It's from
Thank
Mother of
you.
a
Thank you, Kai. Mother of Other Kingdoms is her wonderful book. She just froze. So hopefully that didn't happen for everybody else. But oh, there you go. There you're back. Your book is beautiful. That was a beautiful reading. Thank you so much for that. Um, and it is, I think, a balm this afternoon for a lot of us to hear our poems. Our next reader is Ahi Lee. I first got to know their work through the book Asterism. Um, and though we've never met in person, I have listened to a couple of podcasts, especially of poetry, where I feel like I've gotten to know a little bit more about them and their work. So without further ado, next is Ahi Lee.
Hello, thank you, Donna. I'm very thankful to be here and thankful to see you all here as well and to share this moment with you. I'll be reading from my collection, Asterism, and Asterism means like um, it's a group of three asterisks, but also it means like a pattern of stars that you can see with your naked eye. So it's a book about belonging, but I wanted to move away from this idea of belonging as something exclusive that just belongs to a single community, or even a single group. Um, I wanted to reimagine it as something that moves and that grows and expands along with everything we learn about the world, about ourselves, about others, and so on. So I also like to start my readings with a deep breath. And I usually just like to invite others to join me as well. Deep breaths are wonderful. So here we go. Self-portrait as mother. After over 20 years in Peru, after burying her father in Tegu, my mother visits me in Wisconsin. We link arms, hers unbearably light, walk down the oak leaf trail, glancing up at the trees blanketed with silence, at the occasional underbelly of bridges. She wants pictures. With a shutter's click, I freeze the narrow creeks by my mother's eyes. I notice her flourishing, pores, proof her face has been a kind host to the dry Trujillian sky. As a little girl, I'd cup her tears when she had no one to talk to in Korean, about fruit vendors trying to scam her, mistaking her for a tourist forever, taxi drivers asking her whether she was from China or Japan, or another new acquaintance scolding, "This is how we do things here. Why wouldn't you make things easier for yourself?" Then I would watch her move past what others barely left ajar, insist on living as a breathless field of seeds with its mouth always open. She taught me how to be a foreigner, garner my sunspots, some left by harsher stars, some gentler, knit a plentiful basket out of myself. Another day we'll rummage through it and relieve ourselves in each other. I show my mother the photo I've taken. A lone piece of winter light had landed on her left cheek, as if it too could sense in her a glint of its future. This next poem is called Trujillo as Homecoming, and I grew up in Peru, and Trujillo is my hometown. And yeah, so Trujillo as Homecoming. Alejandra, my childhood friend, welcomes me back to our first home. Her arms wide ferns, her fingers wispy fronds, curling towards me, towards a small sun blushing on my cheek. She puckers her lips to greet the wind, which sings secretly close to my ear. Alejandra welcomes me back, and my heart stutters. I don't remember whether to turn my face left or right. I whisper, it's okay, es normal, for there to be sorrow in forgetting how to cross through gaps now filled with the gossamers of time. Quintana, está bien, for people to become strangers to their own bodies. Question why absences insist on being woven into something new. Alejandra welcomes me back, so I go and receive her beso. I too unfurl green under the embrace of lush and familiar arms. El Milagro as Edges. And El Milagro is a neighborhood in Peru. El Milagro as Edges. This is what the sun would taste like. It's stored in a fridge, Alejandra says, as she hands me a perfectly round slice of pineapple, chilled, half dressed in a thin plastic bag. She smiles, her face casting an umbra in which I am a visitor. Once I read each heart knows its own bitterness, and no one else can share its joy. But we sit, our backs mothered by this wall, we, a brief intersection of elbows, a small choir of helpless slurps, our mouths flooding and the juice dripping freely, dribbling down the length of our tanned fingers, down to dot the sand until we reach the middle, tough to the touch of our teeth. I mistake it for seed, but it's not seed. It's corazón, core, a core, what brings together a fruit's flesh. She eats until her hands empty. Well, I can't. It's hard and not so sweet. I'll read a short one this time around. It's called Home Remedies. For bee stings, my parents would rub a spoonful of doenjang on my skin until it scabbed. For burns, they wrung the aloe vera in our backyard for its tears. For scraped knees, a song, Sana sana colita de rana, si no sanas hoy, sanarás mañana, promised me all tadpole tails grew back eventually. For homesickness, I crooned the same song. It didn't work. I found out then the ability to heal diminishes with age, but it mattered little. I sang, I sang anyway. 목욕탕 as inside. And 목욕탕 is public bath that you can use usually in Korea. You can find it, but there's some popping up in the US too, where everyone gets naked and share like a hot water bathtub. It's actually quite a fun experience, but this is a poem inspired by that. From the entrance, the steam smells of pine leaf and boiled eggs. I sink into one of the hot tubs, quickly become raw skin, conditioned timidity I can't reason away, mauve heat blush with a nervous eye on a towel which had assured me it would conceal the soft folds of my stomach. I'm not alone. There are others more accustomed to bareness close by. Today, we all wear the same teal waters, every quivering droplet. Together, we tread the tile floors as moons of milk fat, of dark budding nipples and creviced thighs, of wide stony hips, of tender skin exfoliated from mineral sweat and grime. And I, pulse and curve, feel lightheaded in the warm water, or the beauty of something so ordinary like the body. Inside this 목욕탕, I start to believe I can hide away from eyes and words that hunger. I lean back, drift into a time long before shame was something to dress for. And this last poem is called Green Card as evidence of adequate means of financial support, which is one of the forms you have to fill out for to when applying for a green card. I needed money. There's no poetic way to say this. Even so, when you touched my face, brought my cheeks to the nook of your neck, I burrowed into it. A firefly seeking shelter from winter, far underground. Then you told me there's no application form that can hold the entirety of a life because our days constantly spill like wine. Imagine that, you said. Tones all over the page. You told me about ferns bejeweled with jade dew, their coiled fiddleheads full of unfulfilled, twirling futures. And I forgot about my fixation with earning people's respect, among other things for which I've been told it was proper to plead until granted. You told me if immigrants could enrich a country, you didn't want to know our melting point and whether we would shine brighter than gold. You told me I could stop confusing belonging with belongings, good with goods, by sharing the way our hearts continue to beat resilient, even without an assurance of worth. You told me there can be solace in a dead end, in knowing the sea still collapses, still runs and soars, carrying its broken shell somewhere out there. Then you buried a kiss in the dark earth of my hair. I believed it all. What else would I do? Thank you.
Just beautiful. What a lovely kind of serendipity between your poems and Kai's poems. And I think Jill's are going to do the same thing here. Um, if you don't have either Kai's book or Ahi's book, please get them. Those links are in the up there in the chat, and I'll put them again at the end. Our last reader today is Jill Khoury. Um, Jill is a writer I've known for a long time. We are Sundress pressmates, and I've admired her work for a very long time. And I one of she is the editor of one of my favorite journals online or anywhere called Rogue Agent. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing her read from her new book. So take it away, Jill.
Oh, wonderful. Can you hear me? My internet is being a little spotty up here in the attic. Um, okay. Thank you. I just wanted to extend a huge amount of thanks to everyone involved. Kai and Ahi. I had to stick my head under my desk and ugly cry for like just, a few minutes, because God, thank you for transforming my afternoon with your work. I really appreciate it. So this is the book I'm reading from today. It is called Earthwork. It won the Gatewood Prize from Switchback Books, and it was published in February. It is a book that I wrote in response to my mother's suicide in 2012. It took me about 10 years to write this book because I just had this goal to transform grief into art to see if I could make it be more bearable. And it turns out that I could, but it took a very long time. But I'm glad to get her story or our story into like a concrete form. So there's a lot of nonce forms and dream logic in this book because that is how I felt whenever I was in this situation. I felt like I was in a dream and I felt like I was making it up as I went along. So, book has three sections, and the first section drops the speaker and the reader into the middle of the action right before the mother's passing. And the second section is about childhood and mother-daughter relationships. And the last section is the speaker sort of figuring out how to move on and work toward healing. So I'll just read a few poems from each section. Can I get a thumbs up if you can hear me? Yeah, all right. Okay, thank you. Here we go. Through the ether and static. An aunt tells me she has decided not to eat. We can't budge her. Later, your mother is really sick. Later, she flushed her antidepressants. Later, she doesn't want you to come. Later, my mother's whisper. I would never do anything to hurt you. But this, like so many of her communiques, is a secret wrapped in a half-truth. To enter the sky, I disinhabit my body, wield my white cane like a weapon, hand my credit card to uniformed attendants. Are you blind? You're very well dressed for a blind woman. The plane egests me, shuttle, street, curb. I fall off the curb. Elevator, highway, yard, wooden ramp, door of the trailer. Now I am on the inside of the hive. She has set in motion anorexia mirabilis, a buzzing in my head. How does this mean? I put out a hand to receive her engagement ring, silver band with pearl. Can't eat, won't eat, can't eat, won't eat, can't eat, won't eat. When I was a child, my father badgered me with can't means won't. Does she think about what it will be like when she is no longer alive to tear her hair and cry into the phone about it? Last year, she cried into the phone and told me, I'm living for you. Oh, Mom, oh, metonymical vessel, the second miracle you're hoping for. An ash man will pour you into a shape that holds. So tired, I close my eyes briefly. Turn away from my mother for the bigger, brighter moon. Night, this pang, cambered, road banked, no shoulder, high, dizzy, inked, sky thick brandied, cinders slide away under my steps. I turn away from my mother for hunter's moon, buck moon, full cold moon. In silence, I turn back to follow. Mama Corona, she is gone. And section 2 of this book explores the childhood, and we start at the beginning. Before she can give me her voice, there is only an image through mottled glass of a blue baby. The baby's thin wrist reaches toward the mother through the incubator. The mother mimes love talk like a play without sound. The baby has inhaled the ocean, her lips and nails gray as a storm. The mother stands guard over lungs as big as skipping stones, studies the baby's crustacean ribs, how they ride the crests and troughs of the ventilator's breath. The doctors say the mother's miracle could have some deficits. Honey. The principal of my new school bends to me. I can smell her powder. Honey, you are such an inspiring little girl. We have another little girl like you at our school. So brave. She crawled, lipstick grimace, up the steps to class before we had an elevator. I forget her name. Maybe the two of you can be friends because of how you're both special. She touches me. I suppress a flinch. My eyes shake uncontrollably. This is called nystagmus. In the parking lot, my mother hugs me. I smell her copper tone and feel her sunglasses push against my face. I want to return to the sun-drenched patio where we will bake. She kisses my cheek. I love you, my princess. You made such a good impression. You're getting so big, so independent. So section 3 is like, thank you. Section 3 is the aftermath and sort of the climb towards healing. So right after my mom passed, I would listen to her voicemail greeting on her cell phone until it was disconnected because this was unexpected, so I didn't have any like recordings of her or anything like that. And so I used to listen to her voicemail over and over. Hi, Mom. Just leaving a voicemail to inform you. A lock of your hair was briefly a relic before they burnt it. I tried to end myself with antipsychotics and alcohol, all those slices up my arms in the blue bathtub. Do you remember? Obliteration's a bad luck message encoded in the genes. Hello, Grailskin. Hello, plastic vial. I'm going a-hunting for the part of me that can live through this. Moraine. I hurry to the greenhouse, limpid. A tempest of phonemes bashes my fixed mouth. Trauma scenes of liminal worlds, blanked out girls. Into the forest now. Soot covers my eyelids, incognito. My boot heels grind broken glass. Airtight seal disrupted. Crumbs of soil swept to the corners. Apothecary labels peeling rot. Parasites whirl in the bowl of the ceiling. The atmosphere decays, placid. It is winter, and I can see my steam. I eat the mushrooms, grimace, chew, and swallow. My hands find in my pocket her suicide note, my mouth impassive beside green things starved for water. I hope you will take the time to read this once your soul is quiet. It has been 4 months since vines lick in and out the broken windows. Landlocked water still has a tremor. 4 months to the day. I pinch my wrist hard. I have no cry left. Coat sleeve, rough, stale autumn leaves on fire. I ask God to erase me, please. He wants me to macerate these herbs instead. Light stratifies into color. I pass out thrice. Resting against my cheek, the shovel blade carries the scent of rust. What was inside will be outside. Glitter in my season. Fine-grained clasps. Strobing ladder bends across the ceiling and down the other side. I climb it, and when I descend, I will be non-orientable, reclaimed from coils of wild ivy. And this is my last poem. I just want to say I am so grateful for such a great audience, and it's lovely to see your faces and to be able to do this from everywhere in the country. I love it. Uh, hey, Mama, let's start over. I'll be the turf. You be the war. You be the nightmare. I'll be the flinch. I'll be the vetchling. You be the wheat. You be the sweet. I'll be the acid. I'll be the nomad. You be the desert. You be the spirit. I'll be the horse. I'll be the cosmos. You be the switchblade. You be the Abad. I'll be the all bad. I'll be the limpid. You be the monsoon. You be the spin. I'll be the early birth. I'll be the razor. You be the scorched earth. You be the hearth. I'll be the fire. I'll be the sphere. You be the gravity. You be the canopy. I'll be the shed leaves. I'll be the thief. You be the mole. You be the drill. I'll be the burr hole. I'll be the control. You be the experiment. You be the firmament. I'll be the acolyte. I'll be the plot. You be the scatter. You be the mother. I'll be the moth. I'll be the south. You be the clay. You be the eye. I'll be the beam. I'll be the blame. You be the prize. You be the dough. I'll be the forlorn. I'll be the cairn. You be the absent. You be the portent. I'll be the whim. You be the veil. I'll be the stone. I'll be the spine. You be the nerves. You be the observer. I'll be the fugitive. I'll be the harpy. You be the vixen. You be the sod. I'll be the scape. I'll be the goat. You be the goddess. You be the gloss. I'll be the ghost. I'll be the heist. You be the confessor. You be the cusp of winter. I'll be the weather turning. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jill. Wow. What a stunning reading from all three of you. I just was so struck by uh the fact that, all of your poems buzzed somewhere, right? And so it's kind of left me with this beautiful buzzing inside hearing all of your words. I just reposted the links to all three of these gorgeous books. If you don't have them, get them in your hands. They're on my shelf and they're books I read often. Thank you so much for being here on a Sunday afternoon. I really appreciate it. And if the recording will be up on YouTube sometime in the next couple of days, and I'll share that link with our readers and also online. Like I said, we'll be off in August, but we'll be back in September with Nicole Callahan and Nicole Cooley, in October with Joan Kwan Glass, KB Brookins, Luke Johnson, and Megan Merchant, and then a very special conversation in November with Molly Peacock, who I'm a great admirer of. So I'm very excited about that. So I'll thank you for being here and being such a lovely audience for our readers. Thank you to our readers for their beautiful work and beautiful readings. I am going to stop the recording. So if you have any last words in the chat or to share, please feel free to do so. Thank you so much for being here again, and we hope to see you at another reading. Thank you.